Well said. First of all, good morning, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I'm sorry, good afternoon. It's been a long day already, so good afternoon. First off, I'd just like to introduce everybody who's standing up here, starting with Mayor Brandon Johnson, our Deputy Mayor of Community Safety, Gary Gatewood, our Chief of Patrol, John Hine, Chief of Detectives, Antoinette City, Chief of the Bureau of Counterterrorism, Dwayne DeVries, Chief of Constitutional Policing and Reform, Angel Navalis, the Chief of the Bureau of Internal Affairs, Yolanda Talley, and Director of Community Policing, Glenn Brooks. I'm joined here today with these members to talk a little bit about the end of the year, 2024, the work that was done across the city, and also tonight, our New Year's Eve celebration and the safety around it. I'd like to also start by thanking everyone around the city, including the media, with the support around the families and the officers that we lost in the line of duty this year, starting with Officer Luis Huesca, Officer James Crowley, and lastly, but not least, Officer Enrique Martinez, who we lost to gunfire. The reason I'd like to talk about that is the support that we received and the outpouring of support that we received for these officers. It was very uplifting for the officers and even more uplifting for the families of these officers that we lost in the line of duty. But I also want to make it clear that because we understand this type of trauma as a police department and our loss, we also understand the losses and the trauma to families across the city, and these are the things that we want to put an end to. Because when we lose a person, there's always someone who cared about that person or those people that we have lost, and we need to make sure that we pay attention to that type of thing. So we're going to continue to show support for all of our citizens across this city and the safety. Through that, we have made progress. This year, we've seen an 8% reduction in homicides. Right now, we've recorded the lowest number of homicides that we've seen since 2019. We've seen a 7% reduction in shootings and a 4% reduction in shooting victims compared to the year of 2023. This year, so far, our officers have taken 12,700 guns off the street. Let's keep in mind that every single time an officer encounters someone who's armed with a gun illegally, it has the potential to become a deadly encounter. And it shows you with the reductions of these types of shootings that our officers are out there working professionally to get guns off the street to make sure that everyone is safe. There's a lot of hard, dangerous work that goes into that, and our officers make us proud every single day as they do this type of work. While this is progress, we still have work to do. We still have to go out and make sure that everyone feels safe across this city, no matter what neighborhood you're in. Every single citizen of the city of Chicago deserves that. And that's what we're here for, to fight for their safety. Too many in our city are exposed to violence, and our focus is to support the survivors of violence and the families of those who have been lost to violence. Through the Crime Victim Services, we're supporting those who have experienced the aftermath of violence, and also we're working to bring justice to their cases. In 2024, we expanded our Family Liaison Office with focuses on supporting families who have lost loved ones to homicides. Earlier this year, the Bureau of Detectives restructured the homicide teams in our five detectives areas to give investigators the resources they need. So far this year, detectives have cleared 322 cases, leading to a 56% clearance rate. In collaboration with the ATF Chicago Field Division, we also launched the Crime Gun Intelligence Center as part of our continued effort to trace and disrupt the flow of guns into our city. The CJIC, in close partnership with our Forensics Firearms Lab, traces each gun recovered that has been used in a crime within 24 hours. This is helping us solve investigations a lot more quickly. A major moment, not just this year, but in CPD's history, was securing the 2024 Democratic National Convention while not losing focus on keeping neighborhoods across the entire city safe. Every bureau played a role, from training to operations, to make sure that the city maintained safety throughout the Democratic National Convention. I've said this before, the pride that I felt in our department and our officers for their professional response during the Democratic National Convention was just an amazing thing. Our officers showcased what CPD was capable of doing by making sure that all rights were protected, First Amendment, especially Fourth Amendment, with the lowest number of complaints of any event like this that we've seen in our history. It just goes to show you that we are moving in the right direction, and our officers can and will police professionally throughout. When we saw a spike in robberies, our Bureau of Detectives, Bureau of Patrol, and Bureau of Counterterrorism lost the robbery task force. This was a focus on apprehending those who were committing the most violent acts of robbery. We have procured 3 helicopters this year, which helps us with air support to solve these types of crimes. With the assistance of these helicopters, we've seen a 25% reduction in robberies. We have also cleared 246 cases, including 158 robbery-related cases and 12 robbery patterns. So far, year to date from 2023, we've seen a reduction of 1,922 robberies across this city. That's more people that we keep safe on a daily basis, and it shows that the strategy is working. I'd also like to thank our community members who have stepped up. You know, we often talk about people who are getting involved and engaged in helping reduce violence across the city. Can't say enough about those citizens who never take a dime, never get the notoriety, but they step up to make sure that they're supporting, so that their neighborhoods are safe, so that the children in the neighborhoods are safe, so that the elderly are safe. And across this city, we have seen that support not only for the department, but for the safety of the city. As we wrap up this year and begin New Year's Eve celebration, I just ask that everyone be safe and celebrate responsibly. We will have additional officers posted at large celebrations while also maintaining staffing in the districts. So we will not be depleting districts to make sure that we cover other areas. We've done that just like we did through the DNC, planning ahead and making sure that we have additional resources to make sure that everyone across the city during this celebration can be safe and kept safe. If you're consuming alcohol while you're celebrating, please make sure that you have a designated driver or use public transportation. Keep in mind, just as a reminder, the CTA after 10 p.m., between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. will be offering free rides. This will help us to keep down things like DUIs or people who are hurt during drunk driving incidents. So the safety of everyone here is of the utmost importance. Every year, we also see shots being fired into the air. This is a careless act. Not only are these celebratory shots fired illegal, but they're also dangerous. These things could lead to our citizens and innocent bystanders being injured or even killed. We want to make sure that everyone is safe. If our officers are going to shots fired calls and they're just celebratory shots fired, this also takes our officers away from those more pressing jobs that they need to get to right away. So we want to be, we are very concerned about the safety of everyone in the city, and we want everyone to celebrate safely and then take other people's safety into consideration. If you see something, say something. If you see something suspicious going on, please call 911. If you believe a crime is being committed or is about to be committed, please call 911. We will be ready to respond. I'd like to wish everyone here and across the city a very happy and safe new year. Let's all make sure that we celebrate responsibly and keep everyone across this city safe. And with that, I'd like to introduce Mayor Brandon Johnson to come up and take the podium.
Thank you, Superintendent, and good afternoon, everyone. To the people of Chicago, Happy New Year. Looking forward to a vibrant and better, stronger, safer Chicago in 2025. As reflected by the numbers shared by Superintendent Snelling, I am incredibly pleased that we are closing the 2024 year to date with reductions in murders, shootings, shooting victims, compared to 2023, and the lowest numbers we've experienced in a decade. We will continue to invest in every single neighborhood. We will also continue to invest in individuals who have been victims of violent crimes. We will continue to support those families who have been impacted by violence. This city, of course, that we all love, there are still too many people who are being harmed by gun violence. The progress, though, that we have made by building stronger and safer communities this year certainly reflects a coordinated effort and a coordinated plan that has been driven by people and our place-based approach. I'm grateful for the superintendent and his entire team, his leadership, and the tireless efforts of the Chicago Police Department, the rank and file officers who are on the front lines, who are working to solve crimes and to deliver justice. So on behalf of the people of Chicago, we thank the Chicago Police Department. Additionally, this year's reductions, though, were the result of activating what I've called often the full force of government. In order to keep our communities safe, we have to have a holistic approach, particularly in areas that have been long neglected. The Chicago Fire Department, OEMC, Department of Buildings, Department of Streets and Sanitation, and so many others who have shown that it is possible for the full force of government to keep us all safe on a daily basis. I'm especially proud of the Office of Community Safety, which is led by my Deputy Mayor Gary Gatewood, and the strong partnerships that he has built across city departments and sister agencies to empower all of our leaders to lean into fostering community safety with Chicago Police Department. His work is invaluable and instrumental to our city's continued progress because it will continue to take all of us to build the type of communities that all of our families can be proud of. An example of this is when our agencies showed up, the full force of government this summer, during our Take Back the Block space activations. We did this on Fridays from July through September. This initiative brought the full force of government directly to neighborhoods across Chicago to build community connections amongst local leaders, city departments, and employers to provide workforce opportunities, health initiatives, and youth leadership opportunities. While this year's work proves progress, we know there is still more work to be done. We will build on these efforts and double down on the work that we've accomplished in 2024 and in 2023. And to ensure success, it's going to take continued efforts from all of us across the city, every agency, every partner, every resident of the city of Chicago to participate in building a collective, stronger city. We are all determined to build a safer Chicago. That renewed commitment starts tonight. So as the superintendent indicated, we fully expect and hope that you will celebrate going into the new year in a safe, healthy way. If you see something, say something. Don't hesitate to call 911. Our officers will be out protecting the entire 230-foot square miles of our great city. As folks across the city ring in the new year, I'm asking again each of you to celebrate safely and to do it responsibly to ensure that we are peacefully beginning the year of 2025. And don't forget that my administration made provisions, of course, to cover free rides on the CTA from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. But if individuals wish to pay, you're more than welcome to pay. We certainly need the revenue. But we want everyone across the city to have a good time, to have a safe night tonight in the greatest freaking city in the world, the city of Chicago. God bless you. With that, the superintendent and I are happy to take any questions.
Okay, we'll begin a question here. And please introduce yourself, and we'll go this way.
Okay, thank you. Andrea Medina with WGN. Superintendent, can you say how many officers will be out and about, and are any of the officers' days off, are they canceled just to be able to accommodate and cover the downtown area and, of course, the neighborhoods as well?
So what we don't do is give out numbers of officers. What I can tell you is that, yes, there have been day off cancellations for officers to work, just to make sure that we have the appropriate manpower to man every single place around the city to make sure that we keep everyone safe. So yes, there were some day off cancellations, but these officers, again, in an effort toward wellness, and well in advance, these officers were given the opportunity to know that this day off was going to be canceled.
Good afternoon, Carmen Vargas with Univision. Superintendent, in addition to the officers that you're going to be putting in like festivities downtown, are you planning to put extra people in like problematic areas like Little Village and other Latino neighborhoods?
Absolutely. One of the things that we made certain of, because this was a focus during the DNC, not to deplete those neighborhoods who need police officers probably more than anybody, to maintain a level of safety in those communities. We made sure that across the city that we didn't remove some of our most hardworking officers out of those districts to put them downtown. So with the day off cancellations, we were able to make the balance of sending officers downtown and to other celebrations while maintaining a robust workforce within those areas. So yes, we will make sure that we maintain the level of manpower in those locations.
Jose Gonzalez from Telemundo. Superintendent,
How are you?
what other agencies are working along with Chicago PD to protect the people?
Well, again, listen, and I don't want to call out anybody, but we work with our federal partners a lot. We also work with county, state. We're communicating on a regular basis. We did that throughout the DNC. We do it throughout major holidays. We want to make sure that there's collaboration across the board. And we have a great working relationship with all of those agencies. And that's how we've been successful, because if we're not working collaboratively, we're working alone. We want to make sure that we have those partnerships. So we do that across the board, and tonight is no different.
Good afternoon and Happy New Year. JC Navarrete with NBC Chicago. So you mentioned burglaries are down, and of course that's a big sign of progress, but of course there's still also work to be done as we enter 2025. For many small businesses, one burglary is all it takes to just be catastrophic for their year. We're also seeing shops in the Mag Mile still closing up shop and leaving the area. So what work continues to need to be done entering 2025 to stop the trends of the smash and grabs and the types of burglaries that we've seen that have been so brazen, sometimes in broad daylight, or of course just very coordinated efforts in the middle of the night with multiple cars being involved?
No, absolutely. Listen, we saw a very large uptick in that, especially at the end of last year, the beginning of this year, with all of the efforts that have been put in place with all of our bureaus here, working together, because we've got a great leadership team. We've seen a reduction in all of those things. It means that we're trending in the right direction. That doesn't mean that we don't know or believe that we still have work to do, because we know that people are concerned. When you're a hardworking person who have started up a business, the last thing you want to see is it burglarized, because as you said, these are the types of things that could put a small business out of business. So we're going to make sure that we continue to focus on these smash and grabs, focus on the robberies, because this creates trauma amongst people. It's not just about the property, it's the effect that it has on people. So we're aware of it, and we're going to keep moving forward. The plans that we've put in place already, we're going to continue to build on that.
Final question.
Mayor, if we could, haven't seen you in a while. Hope you had a nice Christmas and whatnot. Obviously, you've got to be pleased by the progress that you were seeing. You mentioned earlier when you were at City Club earlier this month that you'd like to see CPD get under, the city get under 500 homicides a year. How realistic do you feel that is, and what needs to happen to make that happen?
Well, again, the full force of government that we have put forward is paramount to our mission to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago. It's certainly not the responsibility alone of our police department to create safer communities. We said that from the very beginning. And, what I am pleased with is, most importantly, is the overall coordination that city government has put forward in order to see this trend continue to go downward. Look, as a parent, I can tell you that there are families across the city, as a gentleman asked earlier, that are still very, very much concerned about their safety. And it's why we have invested in youth employment. We've invested in our CARES program to expand our behavioral and mental health outreach workers so that law enforcement doesn't have to show up to mental health crises. That frees up law enforcement to be able to respond to the more severe elements of society. But it also really is a testament to our outreach workers who are showing up every single day. The business community has leaned in, has provided support, committed to raising, was it $100 million? $100 million for this effort. This is not something that anyone should go in alone. The city of Chicago, we've been through a great deal of challenges over the course of decades, and disinvestment, of course, has been the prevailing form of governance. And so we have turned a corner in that regard. So I think ultimately what has to happen is that we have to double down on our efforts to ensure that the full force of government shows up in every aspect of our city's lives. And so that's, again, creating job opportunities, making sure that our behavior and mental health services are expanded. We are grateful of the helicopters, the 200 detectives, as what has been reported. We're clearing cases faster. These are all elements that I promised that I would bring into government. And so that type of support that the police department has provided provides, one of the ways in which you can disincentivize crime is not just creating more job opportunities, but you got to solve them as well. And so that full package, that holistic approach that has been, people have been intimidated to embrace that. As a father, as a loving father, raising my children on the west side of Chicago, I can tell you we're going to continue to work every single day to ensure that that number continues to trend downward.
If I can steal Sam Charles's question because he didn't want one. Superintendent, if we can use a football analogy, because we're all thinking about football if you like it. Obviously, this was sort of like a debrief on the years so far. But as you look ahead to next year, are you mapping out strategies to help continue to drive this down? And are there new things on the horizon that you're hoping to try, or that you're sort of having the works planning to keep this trend going?
Always. If you want to use a football analogy, we don't Monday morning quarterback. We look at game time film. So everything that we're doing is based on what we've observed. If we looked at something that didn't work quite so well, we're looking at a way to do those things better. Those things that we've done and they've worked out well, we're looking at a way to improve upon those things and then build on them. You can't go into a new year with simply old ideas. We have to have new ideas. We have to have a focus on what it is that we're trying to reduce. And if we're trying to reduce violent crime, the most important thing here is to get to the bottom of it, resolve it, hold those accountable who are committing those violent acts, break down crime patterns. And when we can do that, we start to see a reduction in crimes. We saw it with robberies. Putting that strategy together, you think about that, almost 2,000 less robberies than we saw last year at this time. That's 2,000 people who have not been traumatized by having a gun pointed in their faces and their belongings taken, and in some cases even physically abused. And we know that sometimes robberies go bad and can turn into shootings and homicides. So we're going to continue to build on those things that we know have been successful. And let me just say one other thing. The support that we've seen by everyday citizens who just want to see safety in their communities, safety across the city, they get nothing for doing that. And they have stepped up to make sure that they've shown support. We've gotten more calls, more cooperation from communities. And that's a result of the work that's being done by the leadership team in creating that trust with communities. We still have to build there too. So we're going to continue to work in that direction. All right. Thank you very much.